Hello everyone, Paul Elam here with part 3 in my series on how feminism is going down and what you can do to help from A Voice for Men. I should start out by saying, true to the ideas I presented in parts 1 and 2, which you should watch before this one, that it doesn't matter if anyone watching this actually follows my suggestions. The tide of men's activism is already happening, and in my opinion there's little anyone can do to stop it. But you can help it along and be a part of it in a very meaningful way, and that's what I want to talk about here. I should acknowledge that the men's rights movement is not following the same path as feminism. Feminism was successful, depending on how you define the word, because serving women was already a part of the collective consciousness. Unlike the lies they spread, feminism didn't break down barriers or tear down walls, nothing of the sort. Feminism was just organized women demanding that other people open the door for them a little bit wider than usual. And of course, compliance with women being the status quo, there wasn't any real resistance. So we didn't just open the door further, we strapped on the tool belt and took it off its hinges with a smile and a wink. Not being happy with a resounding yes for an answer and seeing how well the whining worked, feminists clung to the notion that they were oppressed and put down. And so feminism went from being a political movement to being the pornography of professional victims, all hucksters, harlots, and t-shirt sales in a circus of public opinion. They are now branded and marketed, turned into franchises, doing about as much for the culture as reality TV. Well, this is what a men's rights activist looks like. We are not particularly organized and don't particularly need to be. Now, I'm not bashing organization. I'm actually really thankful for the small organized efforts that have helped punch the message through in tangible terms like court decisions and men's studies programs. But those things have been made possible by the unorganized efforts of individual warriors. Were it not for a changing consciousness fostered by a lot of people doing what this guy is doing, then the advances I've already mentioned wouldn't have had a chance for success. In fact, if you go to the link provided at the top right, you can read an article at Angry Harry's site that makes a very strong case against too much organization and points out the virtues of individual activism. Please read it as an accompaniment to these videos. It will help solidify all this for you more completely. So then the question, as far as this talk concerns, turns to what to do on your own. But before I get into all the details of that, let me give you a brief review of the model that has actually given us the momentum we have now. It's not a reach for a particular event, but a pervasive ongoing influence that shapes the collective consciousness. It is the synergistic power of thousands of small voices, not the bombastic impact of one or just a few. It was the proven force of steady pressure and repetition that made Coca-Cola a household name, and for that matter, that carved out the Grand Canyon. No matter how much people have railed against us, dismissed us, and disrespected us in the past, they are no longer in a position to ignore us. We are gaining real estate in their heads, and as long as we keep talking, we will continue to gain more. That is the only thing that fully explains the recent explosion of men's rights activism over the past few years. And that is what we should all reach for, because we already know it's working. Now, let's get started. First, make a blog. It takes almost no time and it's totally free. If you're thinking you need to be a writer or a video maker, you don't. You have volumes of the work of others at your instant disposal. I have one that I haven't touched in a long time. I simply embedded the YouTube channel player code on it and it automatically updates to my latest video. I get backtracks from it in my discovery from YouTube on every video. So despite my total neglect, all my videos get watched there by some people. The numbers aren't terribly impressive, but all we're shooting for in a free resource is anything over 0. It adds to the pressure, it adds to the effect. You can use your blog to spread written articles by MRAs to more people than you would think. All you need to do is copy and paste a couple of the first lines or paragraphs and provide a link back to the original source for your readers to finish and get the rest. You'll be exposing new people to the literature and pushing traffic to other MRA websites, which is exactly what we want. Just go in here and there and play some fresh content, of which there is now an abundance, and then you're golden. An important part of the blog is the links that you have to other blogs. Exchange those links with as many people as you can, regardless of what their site is about. If they'll exchange a link, do it. And try to exchange as many links as you can with people who blog on anything but men's rights. We love strangers here and the opportunity to make them think. The next thing I'm going to cover is just kind of a refinement of what many of you are already doing, which is commenting on news sites, political forums, and other places. Keep doing it, but you might want to consider a different approach than usual. You can write or lift blocks of text on particular subjects and keep them stored in a Word file for future and repeated use. Short statements or entire articles that address subjects relevant to us that undermine feminist disinformation are very valuable. You can use expressions in the text like wage gap myth, domestic violence hoaxes, rape culture mendacity. One of my personal favorites is feminism is a Marxist lie. And rather than go to those sites to argue with people, go there to paste in your comment and then go do the same somewhere else. Whether you come back to them or not isn't really the issue. People will likely respond to what you've said, either to agree or to call you a woman hater who can't get laid, or to continue the thread with others fighting with them. But they will add to the conflict that we want to inspire. All of it is a part of expanding the records on the web and in human minds. It's more pressure and more effect. You can also use Google Alerts as a handy tool. Set your alerts to notify you of daily new web content that is searching for keywords like wage gap and domestic violence, VAWA and the sort. Then you can just click through their links and look for a place to add your comments. Whichever search terms you use, you should have a text block available to paste a comment in for that. With this technique, you can literally spread the message to hundreds of people or more in far less time than it takes to argue with a feminist about the fact that men don't commit 200% of all domestic violence. And you will make some of those people think. And even the ones you don't make think will see that their monopoly on the argument is dead and gone. That's more pressure and more effect. And here's a tip about posting links to videos. Many sites let you embed the video in their comments, and that's great. Others only take links. And while we'd like people to see the video on site wherever it is, let's make the best of places that only allow links. Now here's Bernard Chapin. Now he's known to you unless you just stumbled into the men's movement this morning. He's an excellent spokesman for the MRAs. Now showing this to a lot of people is a really good idea, but actually I would rather show them this. It's the same video, but as it's presented on his channel page. Why would I want to do it this way? Because I want people who haven't seen Bernard's work to know that he isn't just some guy that made a video on YouTube. I want them to see that he is prolific and driven and has a significant following. I want them to be able to easily click on a second or third or fourth video and without having to travel to another page to do it. And I also, very importantly, want them to see this. So when you post or email a link to one of his or others' videos here on YouTube, take a moment to get the URL from their channel page. Whatever video you watch on their page will have the URL in the address bar. That's the one you want to send. And I know all this sounds simple, but simple is already what's working for us. There are a number of other avenues to get the message out there for free. Facebook and other social networking websites. I'd like to say more, but I'm running short on time again. Perhaps this is a good enough overview for a start, an affirmation for some, but I'm hoping that it's a good starter kit for others. Remember, enough good people getting the attention of just a few others is all we need. A comparative handful of people can reach the world. Just keep standing in front of that tank and shaking the truth at people like it was your fist. Some of them will get the message, and eventually all of them will. That day is already on the way. And until then, thanks for listening, and see you next time.